Dear students, our today's topic is pulmonary diffusion part 2, including ventilation perfusion ratio. Now let us start with the anatomy. In the first lecture of introduction, we have discussed conducting zone and respiratory zone. Conducting zone is from nose up to the terminal bronchiole, and in this zone, exchange of the gas or diffusion of the gas is not possible. In respiratory zone, respiratory bronchioles and up to alveoli are involved, and in this area diffusion of the oxygen and carbon dioxide is possible. Now see the diagram. This is a diagram of a single respiratory unit. So you can visualize a respiratory bronchiole is supplying few alveolar duct, alveolar sac and alveoli. So these all parts are included in a single respiratory unit. And in respiratory unit, diffusion of the oxygen and carbon dioxide will happen. Now the membrane across which oxygen and carbon dioxide diffuse in the alveoli is called respiratory membrane. It is also called pulmonary membrane. Now see the diagram of alveoli. You can see pulmonary capillaries, artery and vein in cross section, as well as lymphatic vessels, and between them there is interstitial space containing interstitial fluid. Now this is a cross sectional view of respiratory membrane. There are 6 layers visible here. So gas like oxygen and carbon dioxide must pass through these 6 layers between air and blood. Oxygen is going from alveoli to RBC and carbon dioxide is going from RBC to alveolar air by simple diffusion. So if we start from the inside surface of the alveoli, the first layer will be fluid and surfactant layer. Then comes alveolar epithelium, that is the second layer. Then comes alveolar epithelial basement membrane, that is our third layer. Then comes interstitial space, that is the fourth layer. Then comes capillary basement membrane, and last capillary endothelium. So there are 6 layers in respiratory membrane or pulmonary membrane. Now this respiratory membrane is having average thickness of 0.6 micrometer, and at some places it is even more thinner with 0.2 micrometer thickness. You will be wondered the surface area is large, 70 square meter in normal adult male. So this small amount of the blood spread over the surface of a 25 by 30 feet floor. So it's a large area, and the total amount of the blood in pulmonary capillary is 60 to 140 ml, and the diameter of the pulmonary capillary is 5 micrometers. Now in the last lecture we have discussed some aspect of this topic, factors affecting rate of diffusion through the respiratory membrane. So first is thickness of the membrane. If the membrane is more thick, then it will be more difficult for gas to diffuse through it. For example, in pulmonary edema, the membrane will become thick due to excessive collection of the fluid. So it is very difficult to diffuse oxygen and carbon dioxide in this pulmonary edema condition. Second is surface area of the membrane. It is obvious that if we have more surface area, then more diffusion is possible. So in chronic obstructive pulmonary disease like emphysema, the surface area will decrease due to destruction of the alveoli. So diffusion will also decrease. Third is diffusion coefficient of the gas in the substance of the membrane. Now diffusion coefficient of carbon dioxide is more than oxygen. So it is easy to diffuse carbon dioxide as compared to oxygen. And the last is partial pressure difference of the gas between two sides of the membrane, delta P. Again, it is obvious if the pressure difference is more, diffusion will be more. Now, what is diffusion capacity of respiratory membrane? So, it is defined as volume of the gas that will diffuse through the membrane each minute for a partial pressure difference of 1 millimeter of mercury. Now for oxygen, the diffusion capacity is 21 ml per minute per mmHg. Now when we are doing exercise, diffusion capacity will enormously increase. It will increase up to 65 ml per minute per mmHg. So at least 3 times diffusion capacity can increase. So we have a very good amount of respiratory reserve. Now what about carbon dioxide? As we all know, it has more diffusion coefficient. So carbon dioxide diffusion capacity is 400 to 450 ml per minute per mmHg. Compare it with the oxygen because of more diffusion coefficient. And again during exercise it will become 3 times, 1200 to 1300 ml per minute per millimeter of mercury. Now question is how to calculate the diffusion capacity of any gas. So diffusion capacity can be measured by using Fick's law. In cardiovascular system lectures in cardiac output, you are using this Fick's law. Similarly, this Fick's law is applied here. So diffusion capacity is equal to volume divided by PA minus PC. So V is the volume of the gas, PA is the partial pressure of the gas in the alveoli, and PC is the partial pressure of the gas in the pulmonary capillary. So we have to take air sample from alveoli and blood sample from pulmonary capillary. But taking the blood sample from the pulmonary capillary is technically very difficult, and therefore measurement of diffusion capacity of oxygen is difficult. So we are measuring it indirectly. We are using another formula. We are first measuring the diffusion capacity of carbon monoxide. Now carbon monoxide is such a type of gas that it will combine with hemoglobin so rapidly, it has very high affinity for hemoglobin, that the partial pressure of the carbon monoxide in the blood is essentially zero. So there is no need to take the sample from pulmonary capillary. Only alveolar air sample is enough. Now once you calculate the carbon monoxide diffusion capacity, you have diffusion coefficient of various gases. So it is multiplied by 1.23 to get diffusion capacity of oxygen. Now when we calculate the diffusion capacity of carbon monoxide, it will come around 17 ml per minute per millimeter of mercury. Multiply it by 1.23. Why we are multiplying? Because there is difference in the diffusion coefficient of oxygen and diffusion coefficient of carbon monoxide, and this difference is 1.23 times. So after multiplying it by 1.23, we will have 21 ml per minute per mmHg. That will be our diffusion capacity of oxygen. So without taking the sample from pulmonary capillary, we can indirectly calculate diffusion capacity of oxygen. Now let us start the discussion of a very important topic, ventilation perfusion ratio. First of all, what is ventilation? So ventilation means amount of the new air entering into alveoli, and perfusion is amount of the blood entering into pulmonary capillary. So proper ventilation and proper perfusion is must for exchange of carbon dioxide and oxygen. So we are using a ratio, ventilation perfusion ratio. Now when there is no ventilation, only perfusion is there, then ventilation perfusion ratio will be 0. Similarly, when there is no perfusion, no blood is coming, only air is there, then ventilation perfusion ratio is having infinite value. Now focus on the diagram. There is a red colored cow. It is having 3 black colored dots. Now see the dot in the middle part. That is the normal operating point. Here the ventilation perfusion ratio is normal. Now at that point you can see partial pressure of the oxygen is 104 and partial pressure of the carbon dioxide is 40. Now suppose in any person's body due to any abnormal condition, if the ventilation is decreased, now you can see the shifting of the curve towards the left side. Now ventilation is decreased, so no fresh air is coming. So ultimately the alveolar air will reach to the equilibrium with pulmonary capillary blood. So the partial pressure of the oxygen and the partial pressure of the carbon dioxide in the alveolar air will gradually becomes equal to that seen in pulmonary capillary. So PO2 will be 40 and PCO2 will be 45. So at ventilation perfusion ratio 0, partial pressure of the oxygen is 40 and partial pressure of the carbon dioxide is 45. Now go down if ventilation is normal but perfusion is decreased. So gradually the curve will go down, and when perfusion becomes almost 0, ventilation perfusion ratio will become infinity and the alveolar air gas composition will become almost equal to atmospheric air. So you all know once the atmospheric air enters into the lung, it will get humidified and the PO2 will become 149 and the carbon dioxide is 0.3. So now the alveolar air composition will become equal to that humidified air, means PO2 of 149 and PCO2 of 0. So that is the last point, lowermost point in our curve. So ventilation perfusion ratio can vary from 0 to infinity depending upon condition of person's lungs. Now there are two terms, physiological shunt and physiological dead space. So what is physiological shunt? As we have discussed in the last slide, when ventilation perfusion ratio is below normal, then this condition is called physiological shunt. Now what happens? No fresh air is coming. So the blood which is in the pulmonary capillaries is not getting enough amount of oxygen. So this deoxygenated blood will enter into systemic circulation and this is called shunting of the blood. Now you can see the equation here, and by this equation you can calculate the value of physiological shunt. Now second is physiological dead space. So when ventilation perfusion ratio is greater than normal, then what happens that the air is there but not enough blood is there. So some part of the air is wasted here, and wasting of the air is called dead space. So this is a physiological dead space. Now you can see the equation to calculate physiological dead space. So ventilation perfusion ratio is abnormal in chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases. Some parts of the lung will exhibit serious physiological shunt and some parts of the lung will exhibit serious physiological dead space. For example, if any person is having emphysema and alveolar walls are damaged, then what happens? Many pulmonary capillaries are not there, so air is present but blood is not present. So there will be physiological dead space. Similarly, If narrowing of the airway is there, so blood is present but air is not reaching there. So there will be physiological shunt. Now in normal lungs without any diseases, there is alteration in the ventilation perfusion ratio. Ventilation perfusion ratio is not equal in all parts of the lung due to effect of gravity. You all know that due to gravity, the blood has tendency to go down while air has less tendency to go down. So at top of the lungs, perfusion will be less as compared to bottom of the lungs. So ventilation perfusion ratio will be more at the top of the lung, about 2.5 times the normal value. So there is some physiological dead space in top of the lungs. Now when we go to bottom of the lungs, perfusion is increased and ventilation is also increased. But compared to ventilation, perfusion is more increased. So ratio will decrease and ratio will become 0.6 times of normal value. And here there is some physiological shunt due to alteration in the ventilation perfusion ratio. So in normal operating lungs, ventilation perfusion ratio from top 2.5 times up to bottom 0.6 times is variable. So this was all about pulmonary diffusion and ventilation perfusion ratio. Thank you.